to it.
If you're hungry, there's meat turning on the spit outside. If you're bearing illness, find a place to lay your head down and I'll fetch you a poultice. Whatever your troubles with Edgewater, leave them at the gates and be welcomed here. Any questions, dear?
You must be Adelaide.
I have been called that, among other things. Green Thumb, grandmother, the strange old lady who keeps flowers. But yes, Adelaide will do just fine.
Excuse me, Miss McDevitt? Sorry, it's just... You got such pretty trees in here.
Why, thank you. You're Robert's girl, aren't you? I remember when you were but a sprout. Thomas speaks of you often. Are you staying long? You should try some of my tobaccorn tea. I brew it in an old spittoon, but it's been cleaned.
Is this your greenhouse?
No, dear. The garden belongs to us all. Life is the gift of the universe, and the universe yields its bounty equally, absent of prejudice.
I'm surprised you've managed to grow anything out here.
The soil around the Vale went sour years ago, but I found a way to sweeten it back up. The secret recipe is a little bit of elbow grease, a dash of love, and a heaping pile of special fertilizer.
Looks like you've made a home for yourself out here.
A home for anyone who's ever turned their backs on Edgewater. A home for those of us with nowhere left to go and nothing to lose. So, like the spores of the puffball, cast on the wind and alighting on fresh soil, we put down new roots.
Why did you leave your old home?
It is an unpleasant story, dear. But the short of it is that sometimes one wakes up and realizes the place that was once her home for much of her life has changed. The home in which we spent our lives has left us behind, and so we must move on. And that is as much as I will say on the subject.
Reed sent me to make peace with you.
Reed Thompson? You here on behalf of that cold-eyed reptile? Let's hear it. What's Reed's idea of peace, then?
Reed asks you to consider coming back to town. He's willing to make amends.
Make amends? Spare me. Only thing Reed knows how to make is a mess. Like everything else that comes out of Edgewater, that peace offering is canned. I and my own are living just fine out here by ourselves.
Reed asked me to divert your power over to him. He mentioned a geothermal plant.
He would do such a thing. The question is, why would you agree to his plans?
Your camp has a power regulator. I need it to repair my ship.
Cannery's got a regulator. You want ship parts, you ought to rip 'em out of the cannery's guts and leave us be. If you're going down to the plant, you should divert power away from Edgewater and toward our end of the grid. Think about it. You'd be liberating an entire town from a lifetime of service to that odious cannery. Seems the sort of thing a hero would do.
What have you got against the town?
You've seen that miserable excuse for a town with your own lamps. Hollowed out workers laboring their lives away at the cannery, living off whatever scraps Spacer's choice throws them. You know that's true, don't you, Ms. Holcomb? Your father died of overwork. His heart gave out.
He was tired all the time, sure, but he was old, ma'am, and he raised me all by his lonesome.
Look what they did to this child. Lost her family to the company, and still she defends them.
What do you have against people trying to make a living?
It's not much of a living. Every single person in that town has sold themselves to Spacer's Choice. The company owns them. Body, blood, and bones. You've been there. You've seen it. All anyone ever does is toil over a cannery. They give their lives for some heartless corporation, and then they're tossed into a Spacer's Choice brand cemetery.
Let's say I help you. What happens to Edgewater?
Life in Edgewater grinds to a halt. The cannery shuts down, workers desert in droves, and our own little camp grows and thrives.
You think Reed's just trying to spite you.
You bring power to Reed's town and you'll be killing us. Reed knows it. He's counting on it.
I'll consider it.
I trust you will listen to your conscience.
Yeah, huh?
You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to ask you about.
In the bar? When I asked if you were a drinker?
You sounded worried.
Sorry. I know, it's none of my business.
I'm gonna guess you're not a drinker yourself.
Strong drink makes me sick. And it makes me real sad. I start thinking about things I oughtn't, and then... Well, never mind that. You got better things to think on. Sorry.
Don't apologize.
Oh, it's what I do. You'll tire of it soon enough. Oh, that's Thomas. He used to follow me around before he left the cannery.
Where's Thomas? Oh, there he is.
Oh, didn't see you there. I was just occupying myself with a little engineering. Whoa, Miss Parvati. Hey, you're, what, how are you? Hi, hello.
Are you, are things safe out here? How are you keeping?
Great, just great. I've been trying to keep stuff running, just like you. Only I'm not so... Wait, they didn't kick you out, did they?
Oh gosh, no. I'm just along with this lady here.
Are you from town? I mean, you don't exactly look like you're from town.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Well, what I meant was you're reasonably well armed and don't look stricken with plague. Sorry, I just wasn't sure if you were from town or if you were one of us. Something's been chewing at me, you see. Fact is, I've been, well, lying. To everybody here. Camp thinks I'm a mechanical genius, but I couldn't fix a busted chair.
Never too late to start learning. I could give you some pointers.
I'll take all the help I can get. I set my mind to learning the craft of the engineer, you see. I want to make something of myself. You ever heard of the Young Spacer's Guide to Mechanical Engineering? Comes in a set of 3. If I had my hands on one of those data pads, I could teach myself the ins and outs.
Those are good. My dad kept a copy with him when he was working in the cannery.
I know the old community center kept a copy. Should find another one back in town. If you could find me even one of those pads, I'd be greatly obliged.
Today's your lucky day, Thomas. I've got one of those data pads you wanted.
No kidding! Really? Well, which one?
Part 1, found it in the community center archives.
Look at that! Building a computing machine out of Spectrum potatoes, a primer. I'm just glad it survived all these years. I appreciate you going through all that trouble. In fact, I put aside something special, on the off chance that somebody'd search out those data pads for me.
I'll let you know if I find any others.
Sure! I'd be glad to take them off your hands.
I want to ask you something.
What's on your mind?
How long have you lived here?
Couple months. This camp's my home. People you see milling about, they're my family. At least I think of them that way. I owe them my life. Would have died in the wilderness if they hadn't chanced upon me, starving and delirious.
What were you doing out in the wilderness?
We all left the cannery for one reason or another. Me? I was let go, mostly on account of my incompetence. I mean, I was incompetent. I couldn't even survive on my own. Grace found me, Adelaide took me in, I've been on my feet ever since.
You weren't incompetent. You just didn't fit the cannery. Not like here. This place had a U-shaped hole, and now it doesn't.
You could stay, you know. Here. I'd be happy to... I mean, we could really use... oh, this isn't coming out right. If you want, Adelaide would make a place for you.
I should go.
Great work!
Might as well go ahead and get this one while I'm here.
I always wanted to poke around in here. Okay, keep him quiet.
System. Beginning security patrol.
We can handle this.
There are 5 damage types: physical, plasma, corrosion, shock, and in-ray. Some enemies are vulnerable or resistant to certain damage types.
Damage sustained.
That's the last of them. The control room should be off to the right. I hope it's in the right place.
Halt. Security patrol initiated.
Don't mess with it. Oh, you got that? Gosh, that's clever.
Unexpected. Processing.
Optional Chester's passcode. Oh, okay.
System.
Incoming! That's the last of them!
Gotta conserve that ammo whenever you can.
Here we go! Wow, not even a threat! Got him!
Safety features detected. High likelihood of moderate to severe structural damage. Redirecting power is an irreversible procedure. Please activate all 3 electrical track switches.
Three switches. That'll be easy enough. Two more. What'll happen to Miss McDevitt's folk if we send power to the Vale?
You're not real. 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 Get away! You're not real. You're not real. Get away from me, Phantom. Shoot! Scram!
Calm down, I'm not trying to hurt you.
You can talk? The Phantom's never talked before. I knew I shouldn't have eaten that sprat raw. See? See, Higgins? This is why you must always boil your sprats before ingesting.
Slow down and tell me what's going on.
Clearly, I mistook you for one of the phantoms of my imagination, which terrorized me on occasion. Chester D. Higgins. The D stands for definitely not insane. I use it as a reminder.
How long have you been down here?
Hard to say. By my reckoning, Higgins has been here somewhere between 2 weeks and forever. My recollection's a touch fuzzy these days.
Uh-huh. And what exactly do you do here?
Oh, Higgins has been many things over the years. Sprat Wrangler, Saltuna Critic, Aetherwave Personality, Chairman of the Board, Galactic Defender, Sisty Pig Tycoon. I've come a long way for someone who started off as a simple engineer right here in this plant.
You were an engineer?
I specialized in automechanicals, drones, sentries, repaired them, maintained, upgraded, did it all from my old workroom just over in the next section.
If you worked on these mechanicals, you must know a way to stop them?
Look, I don't want to fall into any trouble with the mechanicals. If they wise up to our plans, they will come for us. With prodding irons.
I can deal with mechanicals. I made it this far, didn't I?
You know, you remind me of myself back when I was an intergalactic adventurer. I discovered a flaw. Their hostility levels were hardwired to maximum. There's no changing that, but you could rewrite their targeting protocol so they attack each other instead.
Mechanicals follow the behavior of their logic module. Someone tampered with it.
Yes, that's exactly it. I see you're also versed in the noble art of mechanical engineering. There's a behavior control terminal in the other room. It should have options to change how the mechanicals act, including whom they shoot at. Oh, that reminds me. You'll need my passcode to access the behavior control terminal. Here, let me just write it down for you.
I wanted to ask you something.
The tail. Definitely start with the tail. If you're feeling adventurous, the ears are a particular delicacy.
What happened to this place?
Mechanicals lost their bolts. Opened fire on anything that moved. It was pandemonium.
And you weren't killed?
I was on cleaning duty at the time. My old boss had me scrubbing pipes when the killing started. So, as usual, I missed out.
You've been down here this whole time? How did you not starve?
Jimmy'd opened the vending machines. That lasted a good couple of months. Eventually, I had to resort to more unconventional means of filling my insides.
Jimmy lasted a couple of months, but you've been here from 2 weeks to... Okay. So you ate sprouts?
Braised. Boiled, charred, skewered. Sprats are good eating, friend. Chock full of brain food.
You said you were an engineer. What did you work on?
I specialized in automechanicals, drones, sentries.
Right. Was that before or after you became a Sisty Pig Tycoon?
Oh, before. Definitely before. Sisty Pig Tycoonery was the apex of my long and storied career.
I should go. Guy said he's from 2 weeks to something, but he says a month. The vending machines lasted him. That's great. I need to do the password first because if I turn off the power, I don't know if I'll still be able to do that. So let's go up to that dude's office. Modify behavior. Select new mode? No, select new target. Define intruders. Define intruders as Spacer's Choice Automechanicals. Nice. Now they're all killing each other.
Mind the steam. You're liable to get scalded.
Halt.
It's not working! Got him! Down they go! Everyone all right?
I wonder why those ones didn't attack each other.
Where'd they go? If we send the power to Mr. Soviet, what happens to the veil?
Unexpected.
Look out! This one down! sure what the right is. All I know is the decision's final. Once we do this, there's no going back. Excuse me, ma'am. Look, I know you want your power regulator and all, but I just gotta ask you. Do you understand what you're about to do?
I wouldn't mind hearing your opinion.
I don't think you should cut off Edgewater's power. I think it would be cruel. I'm sorry. That just sort of came out all at once. Edgewater's hurting. We've been losing workers year after year, and corporate hardly ever sends replacements. There's barely enough Saltuna to fill our bellies anymore. But the town's got some good people in it. Decent, hard-working folk just living their lives the only way they know how. They don't deserve to be punished.
Reed tells me Edgewater's gonna die without workers and power.
That sure sounds like Mr. Thompson. If he was standing here, I imagine he'd remind us of how we're all one big, happy Spacer's Choice family. In Mr. Thompson's eyes, those deserters are still part of the Spacer's Choice family. The family must work together in order to survive. I hate to say it, but I think Mr. Thompson's got a point. Unless those deserters come back, Edgewater's as good as dead. Cutting off their power might be the only way.
The deserters are a community. I can't just destroy what they built.
Miss McDevitt's built something beautiful. Somehow, she's talked the ground into giving life again. It's plain to see she's made the Vale a better place. Fed the hungry, tended the sick. Gave a home to those that had none. But Miss McDevitt delights in Edgewater's suffering. She wants to hurt the town. Do you really want to be party to that kind of hatred?
I see your point. I think I'm ready to make a decision.
Sorry, I didn't mean to babble on like that. I felt like I had to say something.
I'm glad you did. I like hearing from you.
Really? I mean, wow. Thanks. No one's ever told me those words in that order.
It all comes down to this. Tune in to the next episode to see what I choose. Oh, so very exciting.